Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be taking a look at Grey Zone Warfare. I figured I would give you guys a little bit of an overview of exactly what sort of game this is. Then we're going to take a look at the main gameplay loop, because I think a lot of people don't quite understand how it works. They're often comparing it to Tarkov and other realistic milsim-like games. And then I'll go a little bit over my thoughts, the pros and cons, and what I think of the game overall. Guys, as always, if you do enjoy the content here on the channel, do not forget to hit up that subscribe button. Lots more content to come here on the channel, not just on Grey Zone Warfare, but of course also Battlefield. I'm also going to be taking a look at other games like Delta Force and X-Defiant, so if that's something that floats your boat, then by all means go ahead and hit that sub button. And as always, thank you guys for the support. So what sort of a game is Grey Zone Warfare? Like I mentioned, people often compare this game to other realistic milsim-like games like Tarkov or Squad, but this game actually isn't that similar to them outside of some of the mechanics. Unlike Tarkov, which is very much an extraction shooter, Grey Zone Warfare is an open world PvEVP sandbox game. And that's the first thing that you need to know going into this video, is that Grey Zone Warfare definitely is a game that requires some patience. One of the comments I kept seeing on my stream yesterday, and for transparency's sake, my channel generally covers the Battlefield franchise, which is an arcade shooter, is that the game looked like a walking simulator or it was just too slow. And I will admit, this is my first realistic milsim game. I haven't played Squad before, I haven't played Tarkov, I did play a little bit of Hell Let Loose, but other than that, I've only dabbled a little bit here and there. And actually, I found the downtime, the walking between quests, the walking between objectives, the dying and having to rerun to your corpse and pick up your belongings, actually strangely refreshing. I think with arcade shooters, you end up with so much action all of the time that it gets a little bit stale and you start to crave something more, almost like a drug. Now you're looking for the next thing, the bigger thing, that amazing kill streak or that really unique moment. But when I played Grey Zone Warfare, I felt like every single engagement I had in the game got my adrenaline going and was just super exciting and immersive. So even if you are somebody who generally plays more arcade style shooters and you tend to steer clear of these more realistic milsim experiences, you may still want to give Grey Zone Warfare a look. And of course, if you're somebody who is into those kind of games, you've maybe come from Tarkov and you're looking for the next cool thing, then you definitely want to give this game a look. So welcome to the base camp, guys. I figured this would be the best place to show you the gameplay loop of Grey Zone Warfare. So let's take a look at the map here. So this is the base camp for Mithras Security Systems, and then up here in the north, we have the other two factions, Lamang and then Crimson Shield. And as you can probably tell by the red colour, those are both going to be hostile. So basically, you take quests in this game and you're going to start out around these areas close to your base camp. These guys are going to start here in Falang, and these guys are going to be questing in Kiu Vongsa. And obviously, as you expand further into the map, you take more and more quests that put you in more dangerous areas. You are inevitably going to run into hostiles. Now, you can tread anywhere on the map that you want, but clearly the beginning quests in the game are going to be keeping you in and around your starting town, let's call it. So those quests there will end up being a mostly PvE experience. And then you'll also notice in the middle here, we have Ground Zero. Now, this is supposed to be some kind of cataclysmic event that happened in the past. We don't really know what it's going to be. This isn't featured in this playtest, and this is a creator playtest, so this isn't even the early access build that you're going to see when the game eventually does release in early access. We don't know when that is, but hopefully it won't be too long. My best guess, though, is that this is going to be some kind of crazy PvP-focused area, but who knows? I guess we'll find out. Now, as you'll notice down here, we can see all of the players on your friendly faction, and each faction can have a maximum of 16 players, 48 players per server. So if you scroll over these players here, you can see their names, you can go ahead and invite them to a squad if you like, and you can also chat to them via proximity VoIP. So we've also got a couple of landing zones over here, Bravo 2 and Bravo 1, and as you venture around the map, you will discover more of these, although you do need to venture into them on foot for them to be pinged on the map for you. And as you discover them, you can of course call in your little bird there to transport you between these landing zones and your base camp. So if I click on Bravo 2 here, we can call the transport, and as long as it's not busy, it will come and pick us up. Here you can see a little bird coming in right now that somebody else has called in. Then if we zoom into the town here a little bit, you can see some of the locations, and these again will only be discovered once you step foot on them. So a lot of the time you will pick up a quest in the game and it will tell you to go to the town hall, for example, and you don't necessarily know where that is. You've got to find your own way there. So that's pretty much how the map works and how you venture in and out of it. Now, you are going to be completing tasks in this game. That is basically the gameplay loop. You come to your base camp here, you accept tasks from the vendors here, and then you go out and accomplish those tasks somewhere on the map whilst doing some exploration, and then you come back and hand them in. So we have Handshake, we have Gunny, and we have Lab Rat. And whilst you can trade with them, of course, and buy various things such as weapon attachments down here, you can also come over to the tasks tab, and this is where you accept your tasks and whatnot. And of course, as you can see, you get a bunch of cash as a reward. You can also get some gear and some experience, and then you get reputation as well. So the more tasks you complete for a specific vendor, the quicker you're going to level up. And I can only imagine once you get to level 2, this guy will have more gear available to purchase. So the last tab here is the character tab, and as you can imagine from a realistic game like this, you've of course got your ammunition system here with magazines and rounds that has to be governed. You also have an entire health tab here, and any ailments that may be troubling your character will be listed here, and they can be cured via various medical means. So we've got some painkillers here, we've got gauze, we've got like a tourniquet, a splint, a circuit for stitching things up, and of course, yes, all of the weapons are fully customizable here. You can upgrade them, although so far I've only encountered like a couple of weapons. I've got an M4, I've got an AK, and I've also seen like an Uzi here and there, but I've only played this game for a few hours, so bear in mind these are very early impressions. So that, in a nutshell, is how the gameplay loop works. And so now let's dig a little deeper and go over some of the good things and then some of the bad things about the game. Now, as you're going from task to task, one of the first things that's probably going to hit you in this game is just how incredibly beautiful it looks. And this is one of the most impressive things with the game. This is a huge open world map. There are no loading screens. The draw distance is extremely impressive. I don't know what wizardry they've done to pull this off, but I really like it. The transitioning, even though you are transitioning via Little Bird from an LZ back to your base camp, it still feels so immersive, especially when you have like other random soldiers hopping on your Little Bird to and from the base camp. The game just does a really good job of immersing you overall, and it looks absolutely beautiful. Another thing I'm really fond of in this game, and this may be something that rubs some people the wrong way, but it's actually the lack of hand-holding. In an era where most games, especially RPGs or more story-driven games, will give you some sort of a UI marker telling you exactly where you go, you make a beeline for that objective, and you run past everything else in the game unless it's something of note or something interesting. In this game, you get very little information to work with to figure out how to achieve your task. For the first 3 or 4 missions in the game, they will give you some rough like grid coordinates on the map of where objectives can be found, but once you're done with those starter quests, they will just give you a description. So for example, one of the places we had to find was evidence of a struggle between a soldier and basically figure out what had happened to this guy. Presumably he'd been killed by the militia, and all we were told is that it was in the backyard of the town hall. So now we had to start looking at the map and figuring out where is the town hall likely to be. We got it wrong. We ended up finding the marketplace, but hey, we discovered a new location, we found some new loot, we got into a crazy firefight, I died a bunch of times, but it was a great experience. Had I had that objective marker telling me exactly where I needed to go, I probably never would have found the marketplace at all. So then, as we slowly pressed our way down what we thought was the main road of the town, we saw a large statue out in front of a building, and there was a sense of elation amongst our squad because we realised we'd found what we were looking for, we'd found the town hall, and now we had to go behind the building and try to find the objective. And that's a feeling I haven't felt since I was a kid, and YouTube didn't exist, online guides didn't exist, games didn't really hold your hand too much, and you just had to sort of figure everything out for yourself. And personally for me, I really like it, but it can be a bit of a double-edged sword, and I'm sure that Madfinger Games are going to further refine some of the quests, and they're going to spot some of the more troublesome ones. So that particular quest there, basically we had to find like a blood spatter on a wall, which was the evidence that this soldier had been shot. However, it took us a good like half an hour, I want to say, of just running around in circles looking for some evidence. It didn't tell us we were necessarily looking for a blood smear. It could have been a body. It could have been anything that signifies why this soldier has gone missing. And I can see looking in the Discord that a lot of other players had troubles with that as well. So maybe they did need to make it like slightly more obvious, maybe some more blood trails leading to the road so that you can sort of spot that, and then it takes you to the correct place behind the house. I certainly don't want like big fat UI markers or anything like that, or anything on the compass, but sometimes some of the quest objectives may be a little bit too hard to find. Something else that's awesome in this game is, of course, the proximity VoIP. Unfortunately, the squad VoIP is somewhat broken at the moment. They know about that. That's an issue. This is a pre-alpha, so those kinds of things are certainly expected, and I'm sure they're going to fix it. But the proximity VoIP is really, really good in this game. Really, really crisp. The distance is great as well. You can certainly pinpoint people and see where they are. And, I mean, let's face it, proximity VoIP is always fun in a game like this. Maybe not so much in a game like Call of Duty, where people are just slagging off each other's mothers. But in this game, you often find somebody randomly out on the map and end up squadding up with them because they're alone, you're alone, and it just makes sense.
Can you help us find the water tower, boys?
173, 119.
Oh, okay. Thank you, boys.
You won't miss it once you see it. It's pretty big. It's pretty tall. So
Yeah. It's like a light blue and white, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Now, the game is certainly not without its issues either, so coming back to the questing again here, there is a danger that they could become quite tedious. Obviously, I've only done a handful of quests, so perhaps they are going to further increase in scope and scale, and maybe they'll get a little bit more interesting. But from what I've seen so far, it generally seems to be finding something, placing a tracker on something, picking up a box and taking it back to your base camp. Like, the quests themselves are pretty rudimentary, and that is really just a loose framework so that you can go out and explore the map and get into firefights with the enemy. Is that enough to keep people interesting? Like, is that the whole game? You just do quests, level up, get experience, get money, and then that's it? I honestly don't know. Maybe that's just what we're looking at for the early alpha test, and they do plan to expand on the game. I would also like to see the vendors, you know, that are in the base camp. It would be nice to actually see some avatars there instead of just opening a menu and seeing them within the menu. I mean, it's nice to access them quickly in that manner, but whilst this isn't a largely narrative-driven game, and I don't expect Starfield levels of dialogue or anything, I think it would help with the immersion having those vendors stand around somewhere. Maybe you can chit-chat a little bit to them. I certainly don't think that would be a bad thing. I also think that the character gun is a little bit too small, and until I unlock the ACOG scope, which you're going to see me using for most of this footage, using the red dot sight was very difficult. The max FOV in this game is a vertical FOV of 75. Normally, I run 89. However, I had to turn it down from 75 all the way to 60 just because I couldn't see anything off in the distance with my red dot sight. It really felt like the soldiers sort of holding the gun way too far out. The gun looks too small to me, and I think it almost makes having a scope a necessity. So I definitely would like to see them change that. I also noticed some issues with the enemy. I'm not sure if it was hit reg or they were just like too bullet-spongy. A lot of the time I would die from a single headshot from the enemy, and I'm a soldier clad out in Kevlar with a helmet. These enemies, they're basically walking around wearing a vest, and I would shoot them maybe 2-3 times in the head and they still wouldn't go down. So I'm not sure what was going on there. Maybe it's a hit reg thing, but I definitely saw the enemies flinching. Maybe it just wasn't registering on the server. I can't imagine they want these enemies to take more than one shot in the head. But again, this is a very early test. I'm sure they're aware of these things and they're going to be looking into this. I'd also really like to be able to place a waypoint for my squad mates. You can place a waypoint for yourself, but if you're on Discord with a bunch of friends, which is obviously how this game is designed to be played preferably, you want to be able to place down a waypoint and say, hey guys, let's go over there. But instead you have to describe the exact coordinates and then everybody has to place their waypoint individually, which is just a convoluted way of doing things. And then of course there are several bugs in the game at the moment. Some people are having difficulties handing in quests, and you know, there's also some weird stuff going on with the VoIP, but those are bugs. Those are expected. This is, like I said, a very early alpha build, and I'm sure once the game comes out in early access, a lot of those things will have been resolved. Although even in early access, they are still going to be a long, long way from their 1.0 release. Anyway, overall, really enjoying my time with Grey Zone Warfare so far. After playing it for one day, I couldn't wait to get home from work today and jump on again, and that to me is a great indicator that I do enjoy playing this game and that I want to play more of it. So I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on this in the future, checking out the early access whenever that comes around, and jumping in there to see what has changed. Guys, let me know what you think about the game down below in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more content just like this. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Go on. Go on, man. We salute you. Okay. Oh, he's survived so far. Oh, damn. So that's kind of interesting, though, that there are actual mines there, so you can dodge them.